Okay, so let's talk about some announcements. If you're sick of announcements, feel free to skip, but they are important. I do spend some time on them, and they don't make the class any shorter. They're just added on top of the length of the class. But please do listen to them because they are relevant to you. So there's currently a challenge up in the community, and it is the October Design Challenge. You get to redesign classical Halloween characters, but you bring a twist. I've already explained this in the video directly before this one. If you're confused, watch that. The announcement is at the start of that video as well. And what essentially it is it's a cel-shaded character lineup. I have examples here. It's all about volume and line art, but it is not anime. Anyone who has a problem with that can write it on a piece of paper, roll up that piece of paper, and shove it up the butt. Okay? And what I want you guys to remember is that it's all about volume, character, scale, variety, like all the stuff that makes character design dynamic. So a character with a lean who's leaning so much on their peg leg they're actually kind of like 90 degrees, and it's just something funny like that. That's what I mean. Bring in as much animation character as possible. If you were to see this character on like Cartoon Network or something like that, not that Cartoon Network is like the apex of the best kind of character designs we've seen, but they do have a wide variety, and that's what I mean. And we have to make sure that the character style that you're using is unified throughout the entire lineup. It's not just a different style each time. Explore different weight categories, explore different heights in the characters. Make them look interesting, like it's a bunch of stones scattered and they all have different sizes and colors and they all look so beautiful, but there's something unifying all of them. Either it's the saturation level or the desaturation level, the type colors, pastels, whatever you're going for, or some kind of detail cluster that makes each one individually beautiful but unites them all under the same style or line art or whatever it is. Clean stuff must be handed in. It can be color or grayscale. I recommend color, always recommend color for these kinds because you're missing out on a lot of realism. There isn't any shading, no blending, nothing. You're just as if you're animating these characters. Okay, and if you guys would like to support the channel, if you guys want to give back, you can always join as a $1 patron. If everybody joined as a $1 patron right now, everyone as part of the Reddit, anyone who's going to be joining the challenge, anyone who I've ever critiqued, if you feel like giving back, if you feel like enduring the checkout on Patreon, please do join at least as a $1 patron. You can join as a $5, or if you want educational material, you can join as a $10 initiate or apprentice at $20. Apprentice is the equivalent of private tutoring with me, but on just a much more relaxed stage. But you are with a group of people on private Discord, and you do have monthly assignments and monthly get-togethers. It isn't just whenever I feel like critiquing, it's monthly assignment. So please make sure that you guys are ready to do homework if you join as an apprentice. You're ready to hand in your work. If you want to just support me, that's okay. But I do encourage anyone who's joining to push themselves as far as possible. It is mandatory updates required every week for the homework as you progress. The questions answered. It's just a really, really fun environment in our Discord if you want to join as an apprentice. But it's not available for initiates or $10 or lower. But yeah, if everybody joined as a $1 patron, it would change the world for me. It would make my life extremely easy. And if you're trying to find a way to make my life extremely easy, this is the way to do it. And I'm not doing it, and if it's going to empty your pocket out, $1 is a lot. It goes a long way if everybody is doing it. So I really appreciate everyone who's joined so far as at a $1 patron. I think like 20 people joined last time. That was really, really cool. I really appreciate it. And I'd love some more support my way. I don't have the best favor with YouTube. I make like $20 every 2 months off YouTube ads because my videos are really long and I don't want to shorten them, and I don't want to talk about world events that have to do with entertainment, and I don't want to draw anime. So I just keep things going, and if you want to support me directly, Patreon is the best way to do it. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined as a patron so far. To hand in your work for the challenges or any work at all, because I'm going to be looking at a variety of things today. Go to Istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon and join us. That's where you'll find all the information pinned at the top, as well as a little video on what my apprentices do. and the write-up brief on the current October challenge. For the December challenge, which is going to start November 1st, Christmas officially starts November 1st. I don't care what anybody says. Christmas is the best time of the year, and it starts November 1st. You guys are going to have 2 months to complete your challenge. I may not have to do that. I may do 2 different separate holiday challenges, but I really want you guys to push as far as possible, because the next one is a full-on illustration, like heavy-duty portfolio illustration. I'm not going to describe it yet because y'all are going to get started on it too early. You're not going to finish this one. But it is really, really fun. It's hella cool, and I can't wait to announce it for you guys. It's going to be announced November, maybe on the 31st I'll announce it, or on the 5th, because you guys have 2 months. Okay, and that's it. If anyone, by the way, everyone's emailing me about private tutoring. If anyone's interested in private tutoring and you feel like you're ready for it or something, send in your application anyway. I'll reply to you when I can. Everyone wonders if they're joined too late or something. Every person who joins me as a private student, they may start at similar times, so I do have like a fall, summer, and winter semester, but I don't, and spring, so I don't really have a particular time where all my students start. Everyone starts at their own pace and when they're ready, depending on work, school, or in life, but I do have general times where the influx of students come in. So just send in your application anyway. You aren't going to be rejected. I'm sure I'm going to get to you eventually, and the prices are really negotiable. If you're expecting like $300 off my prices, I'm sorry, it's one-on-one. And if you guys look at other channels offering tutoring, you're getting pre-recorded stuff, nothing one-on-one. You're sharing it with a bunch of other people, or it's a group or some kind of workshop, and they charge like triple what I charge. Private tutoring from me is actually affordable compared to what you're getting out there, and you're getting so much more than what you're getting out there. You're getting one-on-one, and everything that I can offer you in an hour time, you're getting it. You're getting constant annoying messages from me on whether or not your work is done. And if you want to go at a slow pace, we always adjust to you as well. If you want someone to kick you into gear and kind of like a boot camp kind of deal, I also offer that kind of teaching pace. It's all up to you, but at the same time, you know me, you know how I teach, you know I critique, and I try to get under your skin. So that's my style, and that's how we improve. That's how my students always improve. I've never had a student that hasn't improved, because I'm just really, really violently vigorous with my teaching, and I want to make sure everyone is on board and everyone is in the same page, and every question is answered, and there's no shyness, and I break down all the walls, and we become friends by the end of it. So that's how I teach, if anyone's interested in it. If you're too shy to hand in work and send in an application, don't be. I eventually get to you. And I've never really denied anybody tutoring before. I don't think I've ever had to deny anybody tutoring as long as they were ready to do the work. I've worked with beginners, and we've learned how to paint entire illustrations together. So if you guys are scared or intimidated, if you think I only take like super advanced artists in my classes, absolutely not. I invite everyone to try it. If you can afford it, if you have the time to, if our time zones allow it. I work with students from Germany. I work with students from Dubai, and we make it work. Unless there's like I've worked with students from Australia and New Zealand, so there's really no time zone that I can't make work. But we'll see. Whatever issues you have, it's Monday to Friday. I don't teach on weekends, so that's one big thing. If you guys are really interested in weekend hours, I don't offer those, but I do still try to find time in the day for students. Some students, even on their lunch breaks at work, join me for a session a week or a session every 2 weeks to look at their work and critique it. I hand out assignments, at least 5 pieces a session. For each session, I encourage students to record their sessions with me, to revisit them. There's a lot of ways you can tailor my private tutoring to you, and it's always a live call with me unless you need an offline recording. Okay, so that's the answer. Nearly all the questions I've had about private tutoring. I hope that's answered it. Let's get started with today's critique hour. Okay, sorry if you guys have any questions right now in the chat. I'm just going to try to focus on this so we can save as much time as possible. Let me have a quick drink of water. Okie dokie. So, How to push a portrait. This portrait is beautiful, but there's a lot to it. I mean, it's beautiful on its own. It really doesn't need a lot of work. But there's ways to dress it up or push it a little bit further that might help the portrait. I'm not going to try to spend too long on it, but it's just things that I would do to help the portrait along. Okay, so instead of that, I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to change the light environment to be a bit darker, because this is like finished enough that it could be a like a portfolio piece. So one thing you can do is throw a really slight offset shadow, kind of like a diffused shadow in the back, like against a wall. That always helps out just a bit. Kind of overdid it. Oops. Okay, and that kind of just helps us create some kind of space in the background that is susceptible to shadows or shadow casting. That's one big thing. Another thing is to get your soft brush and let it do a lot of the work to complete the volume of the portrait. So there's a lot you can do to make this head more three-dimensional, and that is radially dropping the edges of the face back into shadow, especially where they pocket in between the hair. And then there's not letting too much light hit the upper eyelids, because you're telling me the light is coming from top down. There's the shadow off the hair. Onto the forehead. Okay. And then you have really beautiful lips that you've drawn, but there's no outside radial shading. It's like the lips are of their own, and I'm just radially dropping into the pits of the lips, and kind of like the surrounding beard shadow moves into the skull. So we're combining them. One thing that's extremely overrated is bounce light on a face. You don't always need it. I'm just blending out the cheek area, because you have it a bit bumpy, and that's aged her. The nose is missing a lot of shine, and we need that oil to make the nose feel like it's texturally appropriately like representing the texture that the nose skin is in comparison to the rest of the face, which is oily, stretched. Same thing with the forehead. The forehead has its own core shadow. Write that back to me. And it's radial. And it's hardly traceable because we're starting with such a low opacity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's what's going to make the head feel like it's really three-dimensional. Same thing with the highlighter of the forehead. The very top of the head and into the scalp gets shiny just about here. Makes the forehead look more feminine and bulbous. And then we have the hair of the lower eyebrow blended and combined using my smudge brush. I'm using number 4, combined into the shadow of the eyebrows. Hair grows so sparsely that it would have this halo around it. This is too small. And we create that not by painting every single individual hair. Yes, I did, Benjamin, recommend soft brush, but remember, it's a dangerous tool, and I'm only encouraging it for finished pieces. I'm talking about pushing a render and rendering into a polish. I'm not talking about learning or skipping your blocking or neglecting your fundamentals. Okay, and I'm blending out and into the forehead, and you need to combine the shadow of the temple into the brow bone. It's not going to have a highlight under the eyebrow like it's a milk mustache under the eyebrow. If you drew a hooded eye, the highlighter is actually right in there. of the eyebrow bone. Okay, another thing that you did that flattened out the eye is a really, really thick inner lash line. Like, I don't know why makeup is overused with students, but I think it's because it gives them a lot of beauty for very little effort. You guys need to just shake that fear out that you're going to get the beauty you need, and you don't need a thick lash line to do it. You're going to get a more realistic portrait if you thin out the lash line a little bit and not make it so dark. Be careful with that really, really thick inner lash line. It just flattened out the eye. It looks like an outline. Be careful not to combine, even if you have makeup, combine the upper lash line with the lower lash line, because again, that flattened out the eye. No eyeliner or any kind of outline on the inner lower eye either. That also flattens out the eye. So a lot of the stuff you did made the face look so unrealistic and flat. And if you're going for like this hybrid anime, even then you don't do that. Don't forget about the inner waterline. Don't know why everybody doesn't give a rat's ass about it, but it's what makes an eye look realistic. It's an anatomical component. All right, so this is how we're pushing the portrait. These are things that are usually forgotten. Not beginner mistakes, but forgotten kind of characteristics that you pick up only if you've been drawing portraits for a long time, like myself. There is no crease on the inner eye. It's not always going to be the same degree of crease as the uppermost part of the eye. There's no crease on the inner eye here. Again, you flatten the eye. The only part, the hardest part against the hardest part was the eyeball against the brow bone. And you don't need it to be a crease all the way around. That just doesn't make any sense, does it? And I'm radially dropping the crease here. And I'm deleting under the crease so that we have the appropriate reflection on the upper eyelid, which isn't too dark and not too light. Okay, another thing that you guys forget is how there's wetness. I'm using my blocking brush. How there's wetness on the inside and under the eyelid crease of the lower eyelid. So I'm going to ask for a full notes, bullet points at the end of this session or the end of this critique. Okay. Another thing that's overrated, but I mean you can keep it if you want to, is just pupil and iris size. And something you don't want to always do is make your character look forward and off. This is all just added, like additive subject matter or effect or acting. Sometimes an offset gaze does so much more for your portrait, and a raise a little bit higher on the eyebrow bone does so much more for the character. Basic. Something's going on. Alright, so I'm just smudging around. And do not forget that the brightest point on the upper eyelid is only the highest point of the eyelid. Everything else is a radial drop back down. The top lid can be in shadow. It can be in a very diffuse shadow. So yeah, most of the time the top lid is also in shadow of some kind. And only like the farthest, most sticky outy part gets the highlight. if the eyeball is big enough and sticking out far enough. And these would be the highlighted areas. Do not forget the core shadow of the mouth. These cylinders are important. And this is a big tip. The shadow of the lower cylinder of the lip exists outside of the edges of the lip. They are part of the face. The core shadow of the cylinders of the mouth are part of the face. Write that back to me. And this entire area needs to be dropped back down into shadow. The neck shadow is actually much stronger than you think it is. It's actually takes over the entire neck area, and if you don't do that, it'll look like she's kind of tucking her chin back into her neck. Hair has core shadows. Write that back. So anywhere where we see a curl going inward against the light, that's a core shadow. And hair has a curved shine to it. Now, you don't need a lot of work to make hair look realistic and look finished. To make eyebrows have detail, all you need to do is smudge at the crease right here. Smudge at the arc of the brow to make it feel like the eyebrows are growing hair there. Just take a look at that. Again, these are just things I picked up as I painted portraits. Before, looks flat, basic. After, it's texture character. Grab the upper skin value and drag it down to create detail without actually painting individual hairs. Okay, what else? Doing more blending will do more for the lower eyelid hairs than drawing lashes. When eyes open, like an accordion, they have these wrinkles, and you can just throw one or two to give detail to the eye. When they close, that's when they have less of that. And it's both a black line and a light line to show the wrinkle detail, how it's rippled. Accordion, right? That's the thingy that the dude uses in Song of Storms and Ocarina of Time, right? No, that's a no. He had a little turner. I don't know what it's. I don't know if I'm using the word accordion right. Waterline, don't forget the waterline, really important. It's just an extra little white line mid-tone sitting above and below, a value in between the value of the lower lid and the white of the eye. You didn't forget the shadow of the lower eyelid. But I'm going to flatten the white of the eye and then bring in a core shadow for the white of the eye, which is something a lot of you forget. Kind of looks like that French actress, that really pretty French actress, Deneuve. What's her name? She has those sleepy eyes and that same kind of mouth. Catherine Deneuve, I think. Yeah? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Daft Wee Haggis. Yeah, Daft Wee Haggis. Such a funny name. He had an ocarina. No, the dude in the Song of Storms dude that teaches you the song. The dude in Kakariko Village, or not an ocarina. I know what an ocarina is. Okay, so a core shadow for the white of the eye, and then the cast shadow of the lash line, which I got rid of a little bit. Please remember, the whites of the eyes don't always have to be so white. They can be a little bit darker. In fact, sometimes they're darker than the skin tone. It makes the face look more realistic. And the whites of the eyes are darker when they get close to the thick lashes above them. Something that can't be super dark is the specular value on top of the eye. Right over here. That really makes the eye look great. Okay, what else? You don't need a lot of detail around the mouth, but you do need some detail for the Cupid's bow. And sometimes for lips, all you need is a little bit of shine on the upper outline and on the upper lower lip to make the lips feel moist. And there should be some detail here separating the value of the nostrils from the lips. Was it Catherine Deneuve? Was that right? Don't forget about the organic element that is brought in when we add dark circles. It's not going to make the face look ugly. It's going to make the face look natural. If you really wanted deep dark circles, you can go ahead, but even the youngest people have them. It's just when you, this is the extreme, by the way, when you have like an old character. But it's perfectly natural to apply some shadow under the lower eyelid. Females have more sheen and shimmer on the cheekbones. It's part of that glistening. And I'm just going to do last little touches of radial rise into the values. And last little touches of a radial drop into the shadow. And all these are coming together to make the face look more realistic. A little depression for the cheekbones, not too much. We're not trying to draw Morticia Addams. And if you are, you're just using villain characteristics. And all together, I'm just going to try to drop contrast down here and raise contrast towards the eyes. I'm just going to use Dodge tool to save some time. And I'm doing this zoomed out because you can't really get a good scope of your contrast without zooming out. Write that back to me. Zoom out for better contrast awareness. Say moist again, please. Moist. Alright, a little more sheen around the chin and the nose. And the forehead. Okay, so these are just some of the ways you can push your values, your detail, some missing elements, anatomical or otherwise, techniques, to make your portraits look and feel better and more professional. If you're at a loss on how to detail, if everything always looks blurry when you paint, it could be because you're missing one or all of these little methods here. Okay, so just letting the hair drape naturally off the neck, and that'll help us lengthen her neck a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse, so this is enough for now. It's just a quick little way to help this artist push their portrait. So before, image size 1500. Paste. Okay, so we got before a little more flat, kind of unfinished, and after more detail. The reason why she may look old is to do with the way you outline the eyes. They look droopy, and that's because though they are almond shape, it feels like we're looking at a top-down angle at the eyes. So the eyes feel like their skin that's sagging down. That's why when we painted her realistically, she felt like she was older. So we corrected the angle. Now it looks like a more realistic representation of her. And you can bring in all the contrast you want at this stage. Obviously, only bring it in where it's needed. So the blackest black of the eyes. Oops. The blackest black of the lashes. If the eyebrows need more black in them. And that's how you finish a piece, by bringing in the contrast. See how small doses of contrast I'm using. Really, really tiny doses. Smudging out the bottom. Okay. Okay. That's Catherine Deneuve. Oh, that it is her? Cool. I mean, maybe. I don't know, the after does look like her. Alright, so good luck with everything. Let me know if you guys post this up on the community so I can have a look at it there. Alrighty, so moving on to this 14-day challenger. They're very proud of it, and I'm very proud of them too. But I'd like the audience to help me critique them a little bit. Alright, so what's everybody gonna critique before and after and their progress? What are some things missing in the after? And I'm just gonna crop the after real quick, but congratulations on finishing it. It's taught you discipline, it's taught you work effort and workflow, and I think there's just a lot that you benefit from it. I want you to push yourself though. I still want you to find your mistakes. So we're doing the thing that you might be most afraid of, but you still learned how to deal with, which is critique, community critique. Okay. So I'm just framing this a little bit better. So what are some of the things? So the outlines are too defined, so we need more blending in the skin. Cash out of the nose is too dark and long. Too much focus on the contrast at the bottom and not enough at the top half. Beautiful. Needs darker values on the side of the head, temples. I wouldn't say darker, but definitely the eyebrows have a halo around them. Needs radial shading on the lips. Excellent. Pointy nose, very pointy. Needs some, needs some blending, and the lips are definitely missing form. Androgyny, perfect. I can't tell if it's a male or female, and that's not good for a 14-day challenge. Some edges are too strong, excellent, and that would have to do with the eyes, the eyebrows, and then the expression. So I'm going to be just correcting all of these and showing them. But this is the kind of stuff that you guys need to start giving each other in the community. So if you are currently, summing up the courage to do a 14-day challenge, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. People who have never drawn before have done it. People who've drawn one face before in their life have done it. And they've been fine. They survived. They're okay. They're breathing still. They're still alive. And it's not that scary a thing to do. It's a healthy step in the right direction. Imagine you just started drawing faces and you didn't have a community to post it to. You never got any critique. You learned all the bad habits. You let anime teach you art, lol. And that's how you did it. This is the best way to get your foot in the door when it comes to art. This is the best way. 14-day challenge is a healthy lab environment where you actually go in, do some research, and explore what your limits are, explore the difference between knowledge and technique, learn new knowledge, new technique. It's a very beautiful way to take a very big jump. Okay, or a very healthy way to take a very big jump. All right, got a lot of security. You got your harness on. You got an ambulance. Everything is going to be okay. So I started off by blocking. I'm separating surfaces from each other, because that's something you're not doing. Look at how much highlight you have under the eyebrow. For God's sake, why? The eyebrow is part of the eye socket. Where is it getting any light? Does it have its own little light system in there illuminating everything? No. So just throw in some shadow there, please. Eyebrows, even when they do expression, don't really exit that much outside of the eye socket. And no expression on the 14-day challenge. It's supposed to be neutral. And you, sir, for the rest of your 14 days, or for the rest of the portraits you paint, no more pupils for now. Learn how to paint the eye structure. And then bring in the pupils later, because the pupils are in the way of you addressing whether or not you have a proper shape in the eyelids. And look at how floppy everything is. Looks like it's just a balloon, just like went out, and it's just a empty balloon. Why? It's supposed to be a balloon full of air. The eyeball is a balloon full of air. Write that back to me. It has volume. It's filled with something. So we need to show that it is filled with volume, blood and matter and eyeball goop. It's a fully functional eyeball. The eyes are too angular. It's like you're forcing this anime thingamabob. I'm not sure what it is. Cartoony outlines, unrealistic shading. You have really good shading. Look at the calf shadow on the eyeball. Look at that. That's nice. You just need a better shape. You need a better shape. And how do we get you to make better shapes? Well, you need some trace over diagrams. Can anyone describe what a trace over diagram is? And if you don't know what it is, even after the answer given to me in a second, Google it on my page, or Google it, period, or go to my YouTube video list and just search it on my channel, and you'll find the video called Trace Over Diagrams, and it talks about how, well, I'm going to let you guys answer it, but it's an excellent way to assess whether or not you have the right kind of geometric anatomy. But what are trace over diagrams essentially? Right, so I have a really circular eye now. Eyebrows are still too shocked. The size of the eyes is too small. The head is too round for a template face. You're drawing a particular person. I don't want it to look too familiar or organic. This is a 14-day challenge. It's supposed to be something that you can use forever. Okay. Tracing over a photograph to find the actual anatomy and remove symbolism in your art and find geometric anatomy. Beautifully answered, Benjamin. Tracing over a photograph to replace symbols with functional diagrams. If you don't know what a trace over diagram is, if you've never done one, go to my channel and search it up. There's a whole hour, many hours on trace over diagrams already available for you at your fingertips, and it's all the same knowledge I give everywhere else. So please make sure that you are taking the time to help yourself not make these horrible mistakes again, because they're ugly. They're ugly. These mistakes are ugly. They don't work. They've never worked. They never will. You'll never find an audience for them, because they are attempting to make realistic what in outline is unrealistic, which is what? Uncanny valley. Nobody likes the uncanny valley. Everybody hates it. It makes them disgusted. It makes them freak out. It makes them feel weird. Nobody wants to, oh shit, I kept the thing on. Nobody likes the uncanny valley, okay? Kept the stupid lock layer on, so that's why it has this like ghost effect. It's okay. I can fix it. Okay, so what else? So now the eye looks a little bit more realistic. The eyebrow, the detail on the eyebrow, doesn't work like that. Eyebrow detail, don't mess with it just yet. Work with a photograph for your next couple studies to learn how eyebrows detail, how eyebrows work. And I'm separating that plane in between the two. Okay, and then just what is that? What is this? Is it eyeshadow? Is it Fester Adams? I don't know why I'm thinking about the Addams Family so much today. What is it? What is going on? Is it a dark circle? If it's a shadow, it should have started at the eyebrow, and it shouldn't be that dark. I mean, look at the background; it's so bright. Okay, and this whole area gets to be dark. Little line there, we're just blocking. The nostril bridge is so much thinner than the nostrils. The nostrils feels like this person got a really bad nose job. Again, you're literally drawing this shape and trying to render it realistically. Bad, uncanny valley. Okay, the shadow of the nose looks like it's like a little cat nose. It's way over painted and too dark. Eyebrows still have this expression on them. The only thing that's really black on the face are the 6 dark spots, which is the nostril holes, the edges of the mouth, which aren't even that black, and the eyes are one big dark spot system. You got lashes that are dark, you got eyebrows that are dark, you got pupils or an iris that might be brown or black. You got a lot. Too much shadow on the inner lash line here. Sorry about the biker dude. My neighbor's fucking turns on his bike and sits there 15 minutes on his stupid bike. Anyway. Okay, and the lash line isn't bright all the way around. What's this? What is this edge? This is what we mean by too many edges all the way around. Why do we have a crease all the way up here? There's a crease over here? I didn't know that. Get rid of it. Get rid of this crease. We talked about this in the last critique. There's no crease on the inside of these eyelids. It's just wherever we have the most packing. All right. Waterline that feels a little bit pinched. I would just make it slide right in. Mouth needs, I mean, unless it's a really flat upper lip, which can happen, needs more radial shading. Every lip has a bit of a cylindrical shape to it. And of course, shadows here. This area is too dark. Unless he ate a big chocolate cake, it wouldn't be that dark. And again, I can't tell if it's a male or female, but I've always recommended female first for your 14-day challenges because it's a commercially in-demand gender right now for anyone who wants to take personal work or do freelance. You're almost always going to draw a girl every single time. When I was freelancing back in the day, I drew more female subjects than male subjects. And it's always more female subjects than male subjects for all those Instagram popular artists. It's commercially acceptable and I want you guys to get paid. So learn how to draw a female face first. It doesn't really matter which one you learn first. This is just because it's commercially in demand that I recommend it. But in learning one gender, you learn the other. So you know what not to do to make something look masculine. You don't do a pointed small chin. You do a large squared chin. You do smaller lips, thinner lips, bigger nose, wider nose, smaller eyes, closer set together, bigger head, a wider head, longer head. So I'm bringing that down. It's about correcting one mistake after the other, and it all adds up together to make the final result. And that means in order to get this good in your art, all you got to do is memorize a couple of changes. That's it. And write it down on the list. And look at the list while you're drawing. That's all that's keeping you from drawing better. If that was all that was keeping me from drawing better, I'm gonna do that shit every single day until I memorize that list. Because if that's all that's keeping me from feeling damn good about my art, like you wake up and you're like, shit, I draw good. If that's what's keeping you, just a silly little list of things to do, a silly little task list, by God, do the list. All right, and if she's dark-skinned, I would start by like darkening really everything, and then going back into the whites of the eyes and making them a bit brighter. There's the core shadow as well. Not too bright. I think I made a mistake here. The core shadow of the eyeball itself, like we mentioned earlier. Okay. Again, it looks like they had a brownie. Try to even out the skin just for the sake of colors one day. And again, the upper and lower cylinder values exist outside of the lips because the lips are part of the face. They aren't their own thing. Look at how far out I'm throwing this core shadow. And then after that, you just blend it with a smudge brush. It makes all the difference in the world. And it's partially helping with the radial shading of the corners of the mouth. I don't really get why you pointed the lips. You might have been working with a reference. You might have been working with like a character that had that. If you're working with African American features, you need to really change this portrait a little bit more. African American or African features have like a wider Cupid's bow that matches with a wider septum, wider nose, a lot more distance between the nose and the mouth. But the eyes are pretty much the same, really, really rounded forehead and a very, very low bridge. So we don't really have that big a bridge. And a level septum with the nostril. So if that's what you were going for, let me show you the difference here. So leveling the septum with the nostril, very, very African nose. And it can be any size you want. It's not that they're wide, it's that they're very Asian sometimes. African faces are really similar to Asian faces, believe it or not. Do enough observation, they'll actually look really, really similar. But African people can have all kinds of eyes, but I have seen more hooded eyes. And I'm just making them big African juicy lips. All right. Again, really Asian. Asians also have really, really full lips. And it's weird because, you know, it's all part of the same continent, sort of, so, or not continent, but like similar kind of areas, similar cultures. We wouldn't call them Asian or African. I don't know why, they just seem more brotherly than anything European. They don't seem like an island. But you see the difference? It's just leveling that septum down and suddenly we have a more African face. And then there's that Asian touch, which is that hooded eye, which also reads as very, very African. See that? Almost, this also reads as African, but a little less. She's extremely beautiful still. This is a model, you know, this is a model's face. Okay, so let's take a look at the before. Okay, so we got rid of that pupil. Can't tell if it's male or female. Really, really round face. Pinched and floppy air like balloon. Like a balloon, a floppy balloon. Eyebrows have this really sad, distressed expression. I like the lip shape from the before, actually. It does read as more African, or just similar. Nostrils, I did not get what you were doing. Why was the cast shadow circular, but the nostril was triangular? Why is it so dark? Looks like a Hitler mustache. Okay, you're using very feminine eyes on a very thick masculine jawline to neck ratio. A very thin nose, so it was like you were going for a female, but you weren't really. Okay, so we corrected a lot of stuff, and all you gotta do now is blend and move forward with your detailing. For this piece, I just want to talk about how I think you may have traced over for the measurements and painted over. You may have worked too closely with your reference. If you're doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't do that too much. Sometimes I recommend drawing over your reference just so you can pick up landmarks and measurements and bring them back. I've actually told students to do that. But don't do it too much because you're just trying to build a better habit for eyeballing, not necessarily becoming too dependent on your reference. You missed a really, really big light spot. And then after you put that in, do you put in the block for the lower eyelid? See how she has dark circles? Very beautiful, very young, dark circles. Her dark circles are green though. Can you tell? Okay, her forehead has a very distinct light spot to it. If you don't know how to see those, squint your eyes. There isn't this much light all the way under the eyebrow. That's part of the temple. What are you doing? All right, the nose has its like own shadow. It's like a shadow standalone. Okay. And then we've got the block of the upper part of the nose, so the upper nose area. Right here. And you have all these new colors around the eyes. Her eyes are much more angular than you've drawn. The inner part of the eyebrows are very, very sparse. Asian eyebrows tend to be sparse. And the shape of the eyebrows is a little bit off. You have none of that radial shading that you need on the corners of the mouth. And then the upper lips are just too dark for the way you painted them. So I'm just going to grab any old color I can find and just try to make the edges of the mouth a little bit more radial without destroying the painting. Okay, and there's that really important shadow of the upper lip on the chin. So just blocking in all these planes. I think this will be the last one I do because my voice is starting to crack. I'm just blending now. Blending the corner of the eyebrow because it shouldn't be that sharp. All right, bullet points for everything we talked about today. Go. Blending here. And any questions you guys have, just at Istebrak so I can answer them. I think you did work pretty closely with your reference. Again, be careful. Don't do that. And there's just the shadow of the eyes and how small this eye is. There's more width by a little because this eye is at the edge of the face. Her nose is a little bit wider than hers. Filter, liquify. Alright, so just picking up the right planes, trying to see where they all are. Okay, so you're missing a lot of the mid-tone highlighters. And if you can't find them, they're easy when you create lines in between them. So this is one highlighter section. And you can actually outline it, and this is healthy tracing. This is one highlighter section. This is another, and they're also a combination of trend lines. And these are all just the main ones right here. Okay, these are all the brightest spots on the face. Okay, and that's what you need to remember. Okay. Just getting a big liquify brush and dragging the whole face from the top, the nose down, and dramatically help it. Yeah, true. The features do hover a little bit high, especially the nose. The mouth is a little too close to the nose. But at this point, I'm not really worried about you capturing exact likeness. I am worried about you capturing the planes of the face properly, seeing where the shadows sit, seeing where they hang out the most. Any questions at all? Okay, so for anyone who wants Portrait Studio, it'll be on sale from the 1st of November for 2 weeks, possibly a month. And that's 50 to 55% off Portrait Studio. If you guys don't own it, if you'd like to own it, tell your friends. If there's friends who can benefit from it, it's a reference generation software available on my store. On the store tab, Istebrak.com. Currently it's at $90. It'll be on sale for a long time, hopefully. If I see sales aren't really happening for the second 2 weeks, I won't have it, but I'm trying to accommodate to everyone's pay cycle. Only have so many sales in the year. This is one of the biggest sales in the year. There was one in the summer, there was one in the spring. There was just one in the summer. I think there was 2 in the summer. One short one, one long one. There are 2 in the fall and winter. One is October coming up, or November, and one is in December for the holiday and the new year. For everyone who wants to have goals, everything will be on sale on my store. Who wants to pursue their art goals for the new year, New Year's resolution to draw better, to work better with references, make more illustrations. Portrait Studio is wonderful for that. You've seen it in action in my previous videos. If you've never seen it before, it's all over my channel. If you want to have a look at some of the trailers I've made for it. To put your work up for critique, go to Reddit. So Istebrak.com, look at the little Reddit icon and click on it. The announcement for the October challenge is up right now. Read through it. If you want to join, you have to submit work here before the 31st of October. It's a Halloween challenge, so it's due on Halloween, and luckily Halloween is on a Thursday. So that's when the critique will be due, or the work will be done and the critique will happen. And Patreon, if you guys want to support me, if everyone joined as a $1 patron, I really wouldn't need to ask for Patreon ever again. So for like 6 months, I hit 1,800 $1 patrons. I'm set for life. I wouldn't need any more to ever again promote Patreon ever again. So if you guys want to help me out with that and help me reach my goal on Patreon of 1,000 patrons or more, if you want educational material and an equivalent to private tutoring with me, you can always join as an apprentice. There's a private Discord, there's monthly assignments, and a monthly critique of all the work handed in. It's a great way to keep yourself doing art, but not as stressful as private tutoring. If you are interested in private tutoring, I am booking for the winter. If anyone wants to send in an application and is too shy, just send it in. I accept all levels of skill, and you might get a reply right away depending on who's dropping, who's just finishing with me, and my entire schedule for the upcoming year and the next year. If you have a different time zone than me, we still work together. We still find a way around all your schedules. It's just that I don't teach on weekends. That's the only problem. But all weekday hours are available right now. And right now I'm a bit overbooked, but if you guys want to join and send in your application, well, most likely you'll get an immediate response, at least to start within a month's time. or you just have you start whenever you can. I always assign 14-day challenge format assignments. I teach you organic form studies, all the techniques, or geometric form studies. Everything is critiqued by me personally. There are equivalent private tutoring packages out there, but it's most likely not one-on-one. It's most likely with a larger group. You get to keep all your recordings. I help you set up a recording software, a screen recording software. I work with you one-on-one on all your personal problems, and everything is tailored and customized to your personal issues and growth, and all you need to get better as an artist. There's always improvement, and the improvements are massive. So that's all the announcements that I have. Any questions at all? Please define two cell shading. Two shade cell shading? Did I write two cell? Two shade cell shading? I'll just try to write something here to help clarify that. But that just means that you're just, basic two shade cell shade coloring, cell style color. So that means that you're using a midtone and a shadow color, and that's it. It can be 3 shades, but it's just cell shading in that you're not blending. You're putting the core shadows where they belong. The midtone is the starting color, and maybe a little dot or 2 for the highlights, and that's acceptable. I'll accept that. I'll make the edit right now before I forget. Oh, no. Edit post. To say 3. Okay. So that just means that midtone, shadow, and highlight. I'm not sure how you were confused by that, because cell shading is just that. It's just 2 shades. One's usually midtone, one's usually the shadow, and sometimes we have a highlighter. But why would you want 3? It's just going to look like a weird filter. 2 shades is usually the best, but I'm only putting in 3 because you might want to throw in a little highlighter blob here and there on your characters. You can make objects glow, by the way. You are allowed to make something glow. If there's a staff that's glowing, you can always make it glow with a single cell shade. Just imagine like pixel art, how they'd make something glow in pixel art. It's just a little hovering, slightly translucent value. Okay, thank you everyone for joining today. I love you guys so much. I'll see you on Tuesday, the 15th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to join the Reddit, and if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so at istebrak.com and click on the little Patreon icon here to take you to Patreon. Thank you everyone. Bye.